So here we go with Chapter 7, Environmental Wellness. Environmental wellness, we're going to talk a lot about different things that we can do to help our environment, and some of the smallest things that we can kind of keep a watchful eye on to make sure that we're doing our part to help keep the environment as clean as possible. So here we go. Before we get into the content, environmental wellness, breaking down and understanding that it is still an overall balance is what we're looking for of all of these dimensions. And you can see we're just moving right along the pinwheel to environment. A lot of different topics we'll talk about today, being the greenhouse gas emissions, carbon footprint and what that means, how we can, what we can do or adjust on a daily basis to help save some costs when it comes to energy, and how we can reduce, reuse, and recycle to help our environment as well. So the big thing is you're going to see this statement a lot: be aware, be mindful, and know your facts. Understand that those three things are really important when it comes to helping the environment out, and understanding that if we are aware, if we are mindful, and if we know our facts, we will understand that just the smallest of adjustment can help the environment. Okay, so at the end of the day, make sure we're doing our best to make sure we are doing our part. So what is environmental wellness? Environmental wellness is our awareness and our engagement of our environment around us. Okay, we understand that we have some sort of environmental quality. We need to be aware of our environmental quality, understand that it is something that we need to be concerned about. It is something that a lot of us will take for granted, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But ultimately, we have to engage. We have to engage and understand that we can play a role, and we can play a positive or a negative role in the upkeep or the lack of upkeep in our environment. Environmental wellness is also our access to clean air. It is our access to clean air, nutritious food, sanitary water. Go back not even a year ago, where Flint, Michigan had the water crisis, and they couldn't drink or use their water for cooking. Okay, and it is also our environment is also access to adequate clothing. Okay, not only adequate clothing, but the ability to wash our clothing and keep it so they are nice and clean for the second or third time that we wear the outfits. Environmental on a global aspect is us taking advantage of our opportunities that we have in front of us when we have an open mind and we do our part as an individual to help save and help take a part in protecting our climate and our environment. So this starts with a carbon footprint. A carbon footprint is a number that everyone is associated, or everyone has a number that is associated with them, and that number is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are produced to directly or indirectly support our human activities. This number is usually expressed in tons of carbon dioxide, or CO2. And this carbon footprint number, what it is the sum or addition of all of our emissions of carbon dioxide that it takes for us to be able to complete all of our activities in whatever time frame it may be. Maybe in a daily basis, it may be in a weekly basis, maybe in a yearly basis. Just depends on how you look at it. But each individual has a carbon footprint that is associated that with them in order for them to complete all of their activities throughout any type of given time frame. So a couple of examples of that. When you drive a car. When you drive your car to school, you're burning fuel. When you burn fuel, it creates a certain number of carbon dioxide and releases it into the air. A lot of the things that play a role in that are going to be the fuel consumption. Okay, so what kind of fuel you use. Okay, how effective or efficient your vehicle is with fuel efficiency, and how far are you driving. Are you driving 10 minutes? Are you driving 10 seconds? Are you driving 10 hours? Okay. Another example of what's included in a carbon footprint is when you're heating your house. Okay, whether you use oil, gas, or coal, you're also generating carbon dioxide. Even if you're using some sort of electricity to heat your house, your electrical power, chances are that's going to emit some sort of carbon dioxide in to the air as well. And then even something as little that we may not think about, buying food and goods. The production of food, the storage of food, all of that, in order to complete those two things, the production and the storage, carbon dioxide is going to be emitted in some sort of quantity as well. So, what exactly are greenhouse gas emissions? Greenhouse gas emissions are gases that trap heat into the Earth's atmosphere. Generally speaking, popular or big greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, that are emitted into the air usually occur naturally and are also emitted to the atmosphere through any type of natural process or human activities. So this is where this chart depicts both the world on the left and the US on the right, the emissions by sector of what takes up the majority of greenhouse gas emissions. So you can see on the left, the biggest contributor or sector of greenhouse gas emissions is electricity and heat, being at 31%. The next biggest is going to be transportation at 15%. If you go to the right and you look at just greenhouse gas emissions by sector for the United States, you can see very closely electrical power is the first at 33%, and transportation is the second at 28%. So electricity and transportation are the two biggest greenhouse gas emissions for the U.S. Okay, now given I know this is back in 2005, but there's a good chance that those numbers, those are still the two leading contributing factors, and I would venture to say that the numbers are stronger towards electricity and transportation than what they were back in 2005. So, if electricity is one of the biggest factors, what are some things that we can work on when it comes to doing our part and saving electricity when it comes to something we use on a daily basis with computers? And that's going to be putting our computer in hibernation mode. All right, so again, be aware, be mindful, and know your facts. Does your computer automatically go to hibernation mode? Is it something you manually have to do? Be aware of the fact that if you're not using the computer, you can turn it off, or you can shut it down. Be mindful of the fact that even though that seems so little, that is something that makes a big difference in the long run. Okay, so know what you can do with your computer to help the environment and help the cause. So what are some things you can do with your car? Okay, so again, going back to the chart, electricity was one of the first ones, or is the leading one for leading sector for the United States. Transportation is the second one, and it is just barely in second. But again, be aware, be mindful, and know your facts. All right, so there is a difference of how you drive your car. There's a chart in your book that talks about being smart when you drive your car. All right, being smart when you fuel your car. Being smart when you buy your car. All right, making sure we buy a car that is efficient or effective as possible. Making sure when we're driving our car that if we can, we carpool. If we can, we ride our bike or walk to work. When you fuel your car, making sure that if possible we use biodiesel or E85 fuels. Okay, again, not only saving in the pocketbook and financially, but also helping the environment as well. All right, so as we get into this last portion, of this chapter, making sure that we understand how much the carbon dioxide for the typical household, which sectors are the biggest. So you can see depicted in this chart, 51% of it is still through vehicles. All right, so our transportation to and from work, our running our errands, our daily activities, we rely a lot on the vehicles. And then the second closest one is going to be appliances. All right, so as we get into appliances, we want to bring up, back in 1992, there was this program launched called Energy Star. Okay, and what this was a partnership that was done to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions by using more energy efficient appliances. So products that have earned the Energy Star rating or designation, what they are to do is to help prevent greenhouse gas emissions by not being released into the air, and making them more energy efficient. All right. So if you see that this started in 1992, by 2006, just by 2006 alone, Energy Star helped save Americans over $14 billion on their energy bills. So not only something that helps the environment, but again, also helps your pocketbook as an individual as well. All right, so what are the common appliances that have Energy Star rating? The three biggest ones are going to be televisions, washing machines, and refrigerators. Those are the three biggest household appliances that have the Energy Star rating, and you will need to know that for the exam. So speaking of televisions, you can see here on the slide, in November of 2008, Energy Star announced a revised Energy Star specification for TVs and TVs only. Now, all TVs sold in the U.S. meet the Energy Star requirements, and they are 30% more efficient than the conventional or the older model. Okay. With that being said, not only are they saving you money as the homeowner or the owner of the television, but they are saving the money both when the TV is on and when the TV is off, equating to about $1 billion annually. And I will pick up with this last topic, or this last point, in the next video.